There has been a lot of conversation about the Azeez Al-Shaair hit on Trevor Lawrence. It was a bad looking hit. Trevor clearly got concussed in that hit. You had Azeez, drop the forearm kind of into the upper body area. And there has been a lot of backlash and a lot of conversation as a result. Well, Kyle Shanahan was asked about this to give his thoughts. And honestly, he might have given the best kind of an evaluation of this play that I have heard from anyone. And also considering the fact that he coached Azeez Al-Shaair and brought him onto this roster. So take a listen to what Kyle Shanahan had to say, and we'll react to it on the other side.
I just want to ask you about a play that happened, not so much about the fallout from it, but the Azeez Al-Shaair hit this past week on Trevor Lawerence on the slide. There's been some debate about like whether or not sliding should be something that quarterbacks do. We talked to Steve Young yesterday, and he said he always thought sliding was more scary and more dangerous because of like what happened to Trevor Lawerence. He said, I think that the slide rule was invented kind of to protect guys who couldn't run. But he said if you're mobile, you're just kind of a runner. What's your thought on how a quarterback protects himself and the slide? I mean, I don't know what you coach guys to do or what you train them to do, but just your thought on a QB protecting himself in that situation.
Oh, I totally agree with Steve, man, with what you're saying. I mean, sliding isn't easy for everybody. Some guys got a real natural feel for it. Probably some more guys with baseball experience and everything, and they can eat up a lot of yards and slide at the last second. But I'll tell you, it is. I mean, not everyone is trying to hurt the quarterback at all, and it is tough. I mean, a lot of these quarterbacks are bigger than a lot of these defensive guys, and they can really run some dudes over. And so you better bring it. And then at the last second when they slide, it's what we coach on a guy who can run you over and is willing to run you over. You can't go in there with the intent that he's going to slide. You have to go in there ready to tackle him and hit him like a normal runner. But you do understand the rules. And when they do slide at the last second, your momentum really can't finish the tackles, but you also can't stop. And so what we coach guys to do is you got to dive over them. You're starting to lower your hips so you can explode into them and deliver the blow. And you can't stop that when they slide at the last second. So what you got to do is continue that movement, but you just got to dive over them. If you try to go into the body, you're always usually going to hit with the head in the head area. And when you lead with a forearm, like Azeez did, that's when people are going to look at it that way, and you're going to get in trouble for it, whether it's a fine, whether it's a suspension. But I mean, I know, the hit wasn't right, and especially leading with the forearm and stuff. And those are techniques that Azeez got to clean up. But I will say Azeez is, without a doubt, one of the most impressive, best people I've ever been around in the sport. This guy took full custody of his kids of his siblings throughout college, basically raised them, is the best community person I have ever been around. They used to call him the preacher on our team, or the pastor, the reverend. The reverend. Whatever it was from Friday, what was that movie?
It was Remember the Titans, Rev?
Remember the Titans.
Rev.
Rev. He was like that. Yeah. So, like, I get why everyone's sticking up for him from a character standpoint, because he is that type of guy. I mean, just ask my kids who've been around him or anyone. Like, he is special. But those hits, we do have to get out of the game. But I will say, it is not easy. And the sliding stuff, I totally agree with. I mean, there could come up with some more rules to help it out, because it is a really tough situation for defenders to be in. And the quarterback, they're sliding to protect themselves. But, yeah, that does make your chin and helmet vulnerable, even if the guy's intent isn't to hit you there.
So I actually also commented on this directly when it happened. And obviously, when you see Trevor Lawerence go down, you never want to see that. You never want to see a player suffer a head injury or get injured, for that matter. It's never something you're rooting for, and you're always hoping for the best, and these guys to be able to bounce back from that. This is my thought on this. Two things can be true at once. Azeez Al-Shaair maybe went a little far with the forearm shiver, to the neck head area, which obviously is going to snap back Trevor Lawrence's head. But at the same time, if you're a running quarterback, it is your responsibility to protect yourself. And that was my original take. And that doesn't change. And it hasn't changed. And you've heard from Tom Brady, you've heard from Steve Young, you now heard from Kyle Shanahan. We can all understand that launching through the tackle maybe wasn't the best decision for Azeez, but at the same time, quarterbacks have to do a better job of protecting themselves. They cannot push to the last second and then slide and expect that someone is going to be able to pull up and not hit them. And especially when you're sliding, you're throwing your momentum back. So when you get hit, you're already pre-exposed to being hit hit backwards. So you are in the most vulnerable position. And I thought Kyle did an amazing job of explaining all the different elements to it, identifying what wasn't okay, what needs to be kind of thought of in the future. And I thought he did. I didn't disagree with a single thing because that was my original thought as well. Is if you're a running quarterback, you have to protect yourself. You cannot expect a maniac like Azeez Al-Shaair, guy who choked out Tom Brady to protect you. And again, I agree that I don't think Azeez is malicious, but we all understand to play defense in the NFL, you got to be a little crazy, man. You got to. It's a different sport. It's a different, like, these aren't executives. These aren't your average 9 to 5. They hit people for a living. They hunt the ball for a living. So if you're going to push the slide all the way to the end and you don't give a guy proper opportunity to be able to identify that you are sliding, because there's so much conversation about, oh, he had 5 yards. No, he didn't. If you slow down the tape, the slide isn't fully identifiable until less than about 2 yards. And as you can see, when you slow it down in slow motion, Azeez has already made his decision to tackle, and that's why you can't push the slide late. You have to be responsible for protecting yourself, and that's up to the quarterback. That is not Azeez's responsibility. Azeez's responsibility is to try his hardest to be able to identify that he's sliding and try to. I think Kyle said it perfectly: go over the top and not go through him. And I think that is the perfect answer. And that's where Azeez needs to work on the technique. That's where he needs to get better. And again, it's a bang bang. So it's like, it's hard to fully blame Azeez, but and this isn't fully blaming Trevor either. It's a dual-edged sword. The quarterback has to be responsible for protecting himself. If he's a runner, he's a runner. And that's the unfortunate part with the slide rule, is that, Steve Young talked about it. He's like, the slide rule for quarterbacks was developed for quarterbacks who couldn't run. That's not the case in today's NFL. All these guys can move. All these guys can run. They're all huge. They're all bigger than most of these linebackers. These are all guys that can actually truck you if they lower your shoulder into you. So if you have Trevor Lawerence pushing towards the first down marker as a runner, in your brain as a football player, I'm not going to stop you from getting a first down. Not, oh, I'm just going to let you slide to a first. So again, there's so much outrage, and I get a lot of pushback as well. And to me, it doesn't change. It's football, man. And I think when you have played football and you can put yourself in that situation where you have to make that decision of how to tackle someone in a split second, you understand, like, how frame by frame it's easy to point the finger and say, oh, this guy did this wrong. But when you're on the field and everything is going a million miles a second and you're processing a million different things, and you can't put the onus on the linebacker to protect the quarterback. The quarterback has to protect the quarterback. People ask me, like, well, what if Brock was in that situation? What if Brock did the same thing? I would have said the same exact thing. Brock already makes me a little bit nervous with how late he goes to slide. And we know he's a head first diver, and we have seen him get crunched a couple times. I don't like that. Like, to me, it gives me anxiety because the variable outcome of injury significantly rises because he pushes the slide to the last second. Same thing applies with Trevor Lawerence. If you're going to push the slide to the last second, you invite the variable of getting hit and getting crunched. So it's the quarterback's responsibility to slide earlier, get down earlier, or just get down. You're a runner. You're a runner. Try to shake him. Try to hit a stiff arm on him. Don't give yourself up and push it to the last second to to get what happened. And that's an unfortunate situation of what happened to him. But again, I think that Kyle did a phenomenal job of explaining it. I think everyone who has played football for the most part has predominantly came to this exact same conclusion is that you can't push the slide late and expect a different outcome. So you can hope for a different outcome. You can hope that these players can stop their momentum and at a blink of a drop of a dime, but that's just not how it works. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about this because it's been such a polarizing topic. So let me know in the comments below, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.